Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we have a lock that the customer brought in. It is out of a master key system for their building. The tenant has lost their key, so we need to decode the lock and figure out what the tenant's key is. The landlord doesn't want it rekeyed to something else. They want the tenant to have their original key. Sit back and enjoy the ride. Okay, so here we have the lock. I have saved you the boring parts of taking it out of the knob. Do have the tailpiece clip here. So we do have the landlord's key. So we'll take that, put it in. As you can see, it does turn. It is master keyed. Not sure what the correct key is to work this for the tenant. So we need to take it apart carefully to make sure that we don't lose the pins in their position. So if we were taking it apart knowing it was master keyed and not caring, so we were just going to change it to something else, we would use this follower here. So it does have a cutout here, so when you slide it in, you then rotate it and it dumps all the master pins out. But we're not going to use this follower because we need to save the master pins. So we don't know if this lock currently is pinned so that when the master key is inserted, all of the master pins are down into the core. There could be some still left up here in the Bible, so we won't know that until we go and take it apart. So we need to, like I said, take it apart carefully. So we'll use this follower. It is just round. We'll put that in, and we need to have this upright. We don't want to have it sideways or down, because if there are master pins in here, we don't want them to dump out as we're pushing the cylinder out. So we just need to be cautious when we disassemble the lock. Okay, so now we have the lock disassembled. We have this here, and there may or may not be master pins up in here still, so we need to be careful with that. And then we need to take this here, and we need to dump the chambers one at a time and keep track of the pins to find out what the proper key is for it. If we come over here on our pinning mat, you can see it has 1 through 7. Then it has 2 chambers. And so what we can do is you take and put your finger over all the pins except for the last chamber, and we want to dump that out. Okay, so there's that pin. So now we take that pin. It is a bottom pin. The chamber did not have a top pin, at least not in here. It could still be in there. So this is a 5-pin lock, so we'll put that bottom pin in the number 5 chamber slot. And we take the number 4 cut spot. So as you can see, a master pin just came out, and there's the top pin. So we take and put the bottom pin there. We take it, put the master pin there. Go to the next chamber, And again, bottom pin, master pin. So we'll put those in the corresponding cut. And the next one, same thing, bottom pin, master pin, and then the number 1 chamber just has a bottom pin in it. Alright, so that gives us the cuts of, by adding all of these together, it gives us the cuts of what the customer's master key is. So if we were to take that metal card and figure out the cuts on this, that would give us what all these pins add up to in each chamber. So we need to figure out, 1, if there's any pins still left in here for master pins, and 2, what the other key is that's supposed to work. So let's okay, so with doing this, we need to, so with doing this, we're gonna carefully slide the follower out. And we know that there was no master pin in the 1st and 5th chamber. There may not be, but we know that 2, 3, and 4 definitely have master pins. So we'll slide this backwards, and as the pin is exposed, we'll allow that to come up, and it does have a master pin. So that did have a master pin in it. So we'll put that in the number 1 top slot over here. So we'll put that in the number 1 top slot. And the top pin fell out. So I can show you kind of the difference of the different top pin styles. Since it fell out, I'm going to have to reload it anyway. So in the locks that have the spring-loaded Bible on Schlage, this is what their top pin looks like. So you can see that it is fat on where the tweezers are, but then it tapers down. So that is a half spool. And on the Schlages, the spring actually sits down on the pin. So the spring will slide down, and you have a full spool. So it looks like a little barbell. So it has a wide area, a narrow area, and then the other end is the same diameter as that. And then, of course, you have just your normal, everyday, run-of-the-mill straight top pin. Since that fell out, we'll just continue. And we'll just double check the other chambers, make sure there is not a second master pin in them. So we'll do a real quick check on the last 3, well, the middle 3. And like I said before, on the Schlage spring Bibles, the half spool actually slides into the spring. So put that one back in its chamber. And then we will check the fifth chamber and see if it has a master pin in it. And it does as well. And we'll just make sure we don't lose the top pin. And there is our master pin for the fifth chamber. So now we have all the pins out of the lock itself. They're all organized here by the cut. So this is the first cut chamber, second cut, third, fourth, fifth. All right, we have all our bottom pins, all our top pins. So now what we'll do is we will decode the customer's key. We have our little card here. And the first grouping up here would be if you had a quick set key, we're trying to figure out the cuts are. Second is Schlage. The third is Weiser, and fourth is Westlock. Westlock and Weiser are pretty much defunct. They're not used anymore, or very rarely, but you may still come across someone with an old lock. So we slide the key in. So we have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cuts. So you slide the first cut in, and you give it a little wiggle, because if it's a worn key, it may slip past. So you want it fairly vertical, but you do want to wiggle it, because if it's a worn key, then you want to try and make the cuts correct. So that comes out to a 4. The next cut is a 7. The next cut is a 4. The next cut is a 3. And the next cut is a 2. So we have 4, 7, 4, 7, 4, 3, 2. Okay, so we write those numbers down. So we have 4, 7, 4, 3, 2. Got those numbers written down. Now, what we do is we take a caliper, or you can use this style here. They do the same thing. They read in thousandths of an inch. So you take your first bottom pin and you slide it in so that it pinches like that. It will so I don't know if this will read, if it'll be blurry or not, but so we have just over a 2, and then it is at 25. So this is 0.225 thousandths of an inch is what that pin length is. So we know it's a Schlage. So we come to our Schlage chart and we look for 0.225, and it is a number 4 cut. So that confirms that, if you remember when we took the lock apart, the first chamber did not have a master pin when we pulled it out. It was actually still in the Bible. So the It's just a confirming of the cuts we got on the key is correct when we decoded it with the metal card. So we have a number 4 in the bottom position, and then we need to find out what that master pin is. So we do the same thing, although it's much more difficult because it's tiny. So pull that out. Now, after a while, you can look at the pins and know, especially the master pins, what they are. A little more difficult with the with the top pins. I mean, with the bottom pins, because there are so many. With the Schlage, if it's pinned into a master key system correctly, it'll always be an even number. So it'll be 2, 4, 6, or 8 for what the master pin is. So we go back to the caliper, we put it in, and it says it is 0.029. Okay, so we go back up to our chart, and we look for 0.029, which there is not one. However, there is a 0.030. So that is what it is, and that is a 2. So we know we have a 4 on the bottom, and we have a 2 on the top. So you add those two together, and we know that the tenant's key has a number 6 in that position. So the first cut on the tenant's key was a number 6. And then we just do that with the rest of them. So if you remember on the master key, it had the master pin in this chamber. So this one here is a 2.10, which is a number 3. Now the master key had a number 7 in that position. So this master pin should be, but we'll just double check it, should be a 4. Because 3 plus 7 is 4. So we come in, and that is 59.5 thousandths, and 60 thousandths is a number 4. So we had a 3 and a 4. So the tenant's key in the second position was a 3. Go to the third cut, same thing, rinse and repeat. That one is 1.66. And if you look at the chart, there is no 166, but there is a 165, so that's 0. And then, like I said, if you do them enough, this one's going to be a 4. Put it in, yeah, 60 thousandths. So we have a 0 for the tenant's key in the third position. Fourth position is a 180, which is a 1. And then it has a number 2 for the top pin. So we have a 1. And then the last chamber is 195, which is a 2, and it has a number 2 for the top pin. So the tenant's key has a 4 in that chamber. So we know that the master key was 47432, and by decoding all the links of the pins that were in the chambers, we've come up with the tenant's key being a 63014. So if we put all these pins back in, reload the lock, and we cut this 63014, then it should work. So with Schlags we use this punch. It creates a key that is back to factory specs, spaces and depths. So you change, the spaces are done automatically. So you can see that carriage. I don't know if you can see the carriage. You can see the carriage right here. Every time you push it down to make a cut, it advances the carriage one more space. And then this here slides this in and out to get the proper depth of cut. So let me cut a key. The way this works is the shoulder on the bottom part of the key. This will only work if the key has a shoulder on the bottom. So see how it's a shoulder on the top and down here on the bottom. So if it only had a shoulder on the top, you couldn't do it. And these shoulders are parallel with one another. So you put this in the machine, you slide it into the jaw here until the bottom shoulder hits, and then you tighten it, the jaws down with this lever. So key goes in, slides in until it stops, tighten it down. Move this to a 6, push the handle down, and it creates the cut. Okay, now our second cut was a 3, so we move that to the 3. Our third cut was a 0. Our fourth cut was a 1. And our fifth cut was a 4. So then we loosen the jaw, slide the key out. So there's our key cut to what it should be to operate the lock. So let's go over here, put the lock back together real quick. Okay, so we have all our pins back in here. And we need to put this back together. Now again, remember that we don't have a key that will contain all the pins in this chamber, because we had some still left in here. So we need to put this back together. We'll put it back together carefully. So again, we have our pins facing up so we don't dump anything. And then we slowly slide it in. Making sure that we slowly slide it in, making sure that it goes in without dropping anything. So we can rotate it now because it's all the way in. So you can see the key way is 90 degrees from the Bible. So now we can rotate the cylinder. If you listen carefully, you may have heard that. I'm not sure if the camera picked it up. I won't know until editing. But all the top pins just dropped in. So we take the tenant's key, and that works. So again, remember, we don't have that clip on yet because we want to test the keys. So we put our thumb against where the key goes in, and you can, so you put your thumb against where the key goes in, and you can pull the key out without dumping that. And we can take the landlord's key, and that also works. We just put our clip back on, put it back in the lock,